The older you are, and the more life you've lived, the easier it becomes to realize that people you once thought would be in your life forever, you look back at it and realize were able to walk out of your life entirely with no effort. People you spoke to all day, every day, now you only text once every few months to say hello. That person you thought you wouldn't be able to go a single day without seeing, you haven't thought of in months, years. It's unfortunate, but it's a natural part of life for many reasons. The easiest explanation is simple. As you get older, life changes. You get busy, life gets busy. Whether you're going off to college, starting work, joining the military, whatever. It changes from high school into adulthood. More than any of us really can expect, and more than they'll tell you in school. The busier you get with life, the less time you have for yourself and for others. Another simple truth is the fact that, as you grow older, you grow as a person and you change. And I don't mean necessarily that your core characteristics change. You'll still be you, but your values, your opinions, the way you see the world and everything in it changes. I can tell you the jump I made in maturity and how I approached life from 18 to 20 was drastic. From 20 to 25 was even more drastic. And from 25 to now, it's been the same. You aren't the same person you once were. And that's simply a fact. That goes for you and whoever else was a part of your life. Who you are today isn't who you'll be tomorrow. And who you were 5 years ago isn't who you'll be 5 years from now. As people change, the relationships they maintain have to as well. People grow apart through life, experiences, and maturity. It doesn't mean growing means that you and a friend are destined to become drastically opposite people. It just means it'll always be a possibility. Friends I made 3 years ago might be entirely different people today. And friends I made back in high school might be the same person fundamentally today. And with people changing as time moves on, so does our paths in life. One of the biggest lessons I've learned so far in life is that things rarely, if ever, go to plan. Things we say we're going to do once we get out of school, we rarely do. Life has a funny way of kind of wiping its ass with your plans. In truth, our paths tend to be a reflection not of planning, but of reactions. Reacting to the obstacles life throws at you. I know people who planned on going to law school after graduation only to end up as junkies. And I know people who everybody thought would end up in the streets that ended up being more successful than everybody else. Life isn't a linear path. It's a giant multitude of pathways that are created by many forks in the road. And every fork we come to, leads us down a different direction in our life. That's the case for all of us. So it's only to be expected that as time passes, we come to more and more diverting paths. And, that life will just simply take you and somebody else into completely different directions. The last one's the hardest one to admit, to ourselves. And that's an ugly truth that I've learned about a lot of friendships I've had over the years. People that I thought were, truly my friends. And honestly, bro, it's sometimes the friendship's not real. It's built strictly under a certain situation or circumstance. People you spend all day with when you don't have a choice often get mixed in with the people you genuinely connect with. Whether it's school or work, if you have to spend 8 hours every day with the same group of people, day in and day out, it's only natural to assume you might form a bond or a relationship with them because you're directly in each other's vicinity. Humans are pack animals. We bond with those we're around. But when it's all said and done, and we graduate, or somebody leaves the job, and we're not forced to spend time around each other anymore, more often than not, the relationship between you and that person does the same thing as the relationship between you and the place you were forced to be at. It kind of just ceases to exist. It can hurt to admit to yourself that somebody wasn't truly your friend. It was only because you had to spend time together. I can't tell you how many people I've worked with over the years that I thought I genuinely became friends with, only for once they or I left that job, we would never speak again after maybe a week or so. The amount of people that I went to school with, I thought would be, part of my life forever, only to never speak to them again outside of graduation or that one-off awkward run-in at the grocery store. Unfortunately, that's life. We as people grow and change with the days that pass. And that means that, our relationships with others grow and change too. Part of growing is withering away. And we as people aren't all wired the same way. Some people, like me, kind of thrive in loneliness. We become used to it as time passes and eventually kind of just find comfort in it. It doesn't mean that we enjoy being lonely, and it doesn't mean that, occasionally it doesn't get to be a little bit too much. It just means that we're less social creatures, I guess, than our counterpart, people who don't feel comfortable being alone. That can stem from any number of childhood traumas to simply sometimes people aren't comfortable enough with themselves to be alone with themselves. We all know that our society as a whole, and I don't mean American specifically, I mean across the globe, we as humans, as people, are in the loneliest era of our history. Men and women alike feel isolated, alienated, and alone. And the inevitable and natural course of life that, takes people out of our lives doesn't really help. That's why I feel like we have to make the effort to feel comfortable with ourselves, to appreciate those that are in our lives that much more, and to hold on to the real friendships that we develop in our lifetimes, to feel comfortable with the realization that people, and in essence friendships, come and go in and out of our lives.